Hi there, it's Bruce Bishop from Go Right Ahead, an occasional podcast where I speak to indie authors about their journeys in the wild world of independent publishing. And today I have with me again Pam Callow, who is actually one of the authors who has decided to go from traditional publishing, and that means being published by a mainstream publisher, to doing it on her own with her series of books. And these books are called the Kate Lange Thriller series. And I'm going to give the floor over to Pam. And I guess the first question would be, what made you decide to take your books from having a traditional publisher publish them to you doing it yourself?
It's a good question. There were a lot of factors. One of them, though, was sort of two forces at the same time that kind of came into play. One was that the publisher that I originally published my series with, there were some changes internally, including their business strategy.
Hmm.
So it wasn't really the best fit anymore for my books. And then, and also my editor retired, whom I actually adored. So there was also that aspect of it. But the other side of it was that I have some wonderful friends who are authors, and they are at the time were had had gone into self-publishing and were really successful with it. And I just thought, you know what? I have a business background that lends itself to doing this kind of work. And so I was just honestly interested in giving it a try. As you know, Bruce, there is a significant difference also in royalties. So you take on the risk. With my publisher, I was paid in advance. As an indie author, you cover all of your costs, but you also, if you're successful with what you're doing, you actually receive a larger royalty on the other end of it. So that was kind of a decision I made. It was just a timing thing, to be honest.
Right. And was it easy or difficult as far as beginning the process? Because I think people who haven't perhaps had a book published yet just think, oh my gosh, that means I'm under a contract and I've got to break a contract and I could get in trouble. Your training is of a as a lawyer. Did that help the process?
Yeah, I think it did. And I mean, I have a good relationship with my publisher, actually. I mean, I really like them. They went in, they're a business
Yeah.
and I'm a business. They went into a different direction, and that is totally understandable for what they worked in their market. So basically what happened is when I decided to explore indie publishing, I did have to get my rights back.
Hmm.
So the way that it works is at least in my contract, I licensed my copyright to them. So they had the right to publish my books. So I always owned the copyright, but I had licensed it to them. So I thought, well, maybe what I need to do is offer to buy back my rights. So I reached out to um, one of the executives that I knew there in the publishing house and just asked. And they said, sure.
Okay.
So, I mean, I was very surprised. Um, and they were lovely about it. And in fact, very supportive of it. So, it all worked out. Now, on the other side of it, so I was writing a fourth book at the time. So I basically planned a launch of my publishing company around releasing my first three books and the new book all at once. So one thing is when you get your rights back, it's the rights to the book that I wrote, but
Hmm.
you don't have the right to the cover that the publisher designed or even the typesetting,
Right.
so I had to redo the physical aspects, formatting of my book, commission new covers. I had to obviously, I was writing a new book, so I had to hire an editor.
Hmm.
And And
And
then you get in, sorry,
these
go
are all
ahead.
no, I was just going to say these are all your expenses.
Yes. Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
when you get a new book cover designer, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of work around finding one. You have to study the market and you're trying to decide. So how do I come up with these, what kind of covers am I looking for? So my publisher, honestly, I loved the covers they created for me. So that was hard because I was like, I love these covers so much. I'm gonna have to say goodbye to them. But they also, did some they're really excellent publishers in terms of marketing. And so there was some branding that I carried through, which was a woman's face,
Hmm.
in my series. So I had to use a completely different type of image, different colors, all of these things, different typeset, different font, everything. But the branding was something that I felt belonged to the series itself. Um, and as you can see, there's a woman's face on all of the books. So, who could be Kate, could be a victim, could be an antagonist. They're all somewhat open to interpretation, I
Right.
would say.
And was it you
So,
or the book cover designer who even chose the fact that there's blue, green, red, yellow? I mean, they're incredibly distinctive and they stand out
oh,
wonderfully.
thank you. No, it was me.
Hmm.
So I had given a fair amount of information to the designer, but he came up with the images actually, or at least the first two.
Hmm.
The next two I had to supply to him, which again is another expense for anybody doing it because you have to license your images.
Yeah.
You can't, you're using them for commercial use. So all of my, and also, because I'm a lawyer and I'm also live on my royalties, I live on my copyright. I'm not going to violate any other artist's
Yeah,
copyright.
for sure.
So everything's licensed. Um, and yeah, so that was one thing that I did. The other aspect of it is just figuring out how you launch it, how do you market a re-release. I attended conferences for indie authors, where there's really a lot of information. The interesting thing about independent publishing is, Amazon opened up the platform, I think in 2010 or 2011. I can't remember. It was around the time my first book came out.
Hmm.
I did this in 2016, and in that 5-year window, there had become an app, a complete um, tier of businesses servicing
Yeah.
independent publishers,
Yeah.
which is great because they were filling a gap of needs for independent authors to really become their own publishers, even if they didn't publish other people's works. So I view myself as both a publisher and an author.
Hmm.
I'm a publisher of my own works. So,
Yeah, and it's even for you as a lawyer, I mean it's a learning curve to go from having a tradition, at least I'm assuming,
mm,
having a traditional publisher do certain marketing things and promotional activities perhaps for you, than to now be doing it on your own and having to not start fresh so much, but certainly get into a new vibe. I mean, my gosh, there's so many books that come out every single day on
yeah,
Amazon, and now we're in the swim of it.
I mean, there's a lot that goes on that I don't think people are aware of. I am fortunate that I have this business experience. It's not just as a lawyer, but I worked in a management consulting firm doing business process redesign. I understand metadata. I understand sort of those elements that go in behind um, the structure of selling a book. So, that being said, I understand the concept, but you have to learn it in your own industry, and it's an incredible amount of work. So,
Mm.
in a publishing company, they have employees to do it. And when you're doing it yourself as an author, it's a big learning curve. It's an investment. You have to buy the tools. I was paying for training, paying to go to conferences, so I could connect with book promotion companies that might feature my book that you pay for.
Yep. Yep.
You know, like it's a very big investment to have uh, to sort of build that brand awareness, I
It,
would say.
yeah, I so agree with you on that. And I think it's a fair warning to give to aspiring authors who might decide to go the indie route, the self-publishing route, and then realize that, oh my gosh, this is really tough. You're being chief, cook, and bottle washer all at the same time, and you're expected to be a pro uh, at each. And yet we're also creative people who love to write. So, in other words, I guess I'm saying for anybody aspiring, yeah, go for it, but try not to make it so much just a hobby that's part-time. It's it's a
Yeah,
full-time gig.
I think it depends on what your goals are around writing.
Hmm,
Even when in our last episode, when we talked about vanity publishing and, the fact that some people just want to get their work out
that's
there,
true. That's true. Yeah.
and so I I was very fortunate. I had a publisher when I first published my books. I really had a great platform. And so, because of that, I I obviously didn't want to lose it, and also I was able to leverage it.
Hmm.
But uh, uh, you know, you're competing in a very different type of marketplace, which has changed dramatically,
Hmm.
I'm going to add, since my books first came out. And there's so many more books on the market. It's very hard to stand out and to find readers. You really do have to do a lot if that's your goal,
Yes.
which is my goal.
Hmm.
But and it can be overwhelming sometimes, honestly, and expensive. Like if you're advertising on Amazon or Facebook in US dollars, you have to gotta know what you're doing, or you're just giving a lot of money to Amazon and Facebook.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how do you know what you're doing? You train, and you may not have those skills, and so that may not be the best use of your money, right?
Right.
Like it's all of that.
Yeah.
It's it really is a lot of work.
Yeah, I so admire, and I don't
Yeah.
envy, but I so admire the particular indie authors who happen to have a 40-hour a week full-time job and try to get their books out there, attend book fairs, et cetera, and do all the things like, that you and I are already doing. Yeah, it's a tough gig. Do you have any let's say regrets about the switch over, but how do you feel about the switch over from
Um,
traditional to indie?
well, I don't have any regrets, first of all. Excuse me, because it was a certain time and place. And so circumstances were changing in from when I originally started with my publisher. I actually had a different agent. He was encouraging me to do something else. There were just so many factors. I had just optioned my series to a TV producer. Like I had so many different balls in the air that this made the most sense. I will say, as a traditionally published author, you know, once you write your book, you're giving it to your publishing house to publish. And so it's fabulous when you have a team that's supporting you and they're putting the marketing in, but they don't do that very much anymore.
Hmm.
It's very different. And you have to realize, you could, like, for me, it takes about 9, 10 months to write a book, and you go through all the editing. Well, if it's not their first priority, and that's the thing, like, priorities change,
Hmm.
you can invest almost a year of your life and really not have a lot coming out of it.
Yeah.
So, I have no regrets.
Hmm.
But would I, consider going back down the traditional route? For sure. I
Hmm.
mean, it depends on who the publisher is, what the opportunity is, whether, you know, my work resonates with them, the kind of market they see for it. I mean, there's a lot of different factors. I think you just have to be adaptable and flexible in the kind of work that we do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I so agree. And you've got book number 5 in the Kate Lange series coming out in 2026. So I
that's the
wish you much
oh
success
well.
with that.
Thank you,
And
Bruce.
also want to thank you for being on part 1 and now part 2.
Oh, it was so
Uh,
nice to talk to you about it. It's
oh,
sort of like it's an interesting these are big questions for people.
yeah,
And
yeah,
my experience is I feel like everybody's experience is very unique. And it also depends on the genre they're writing, their you know, who their publisher is.
yeah.
It's all I can share is kind of what I did and some lessons learned. I would say to wrap up that the one thing that I do miss a lot about traditional publishing is the team.
Mm,
It there's nothing better as a writer than to have professionals support your work and are invested in the success of it.
yeah.
And it can be a little bit different as an indie publisher because you're really hiring contract workers.
Mm-hmm.
They can
Mm-hmm.
be excellent at what they do and all of that, but they have multiple clients and they have a different, um, it's just a different approach. So I think you can develop a great relationship with a Reddit, with an editor as an independent publisher too. I've only written one book as an indie, so I don't have that perspective. But I did find that when you're sort of hiring out all of the different bits and pieces of the publishing journey, you get to meet a lot of different people, you get to try a lot of different things and see what fits best for your vision, which you kind of
Mm.
give up that control in a traditional publisher. But at the same time, you also don't necessarily have like sort of
The
the
collaboration.
mass,
Mm.
yeah, and the
Mm.
mass behind you
Yeah,
in the same way.
so
And I
true.
mean, I was just fortunate, as I said in the other interview, I had a publisher and an editor that, a team that really loved the book and they really gave it a big push. So I saw that side of traditional publishing, and it's a really great thing for writers.
Mm.
Um, so I do miss that because I'm a people person. I like working in teams. I worked in teams when I was working as a management consultant, and it's actually one reason why TV work really interests me because it's a big collaborative, creative effort.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a balance. It's just figuring all of these different elements out where
And
you
the
are in your life.
and the best thing is always at the very end of the road is getting that copy of the book to hold in your hands and see your name on the cover and knowing that there's new readers out there to explore
That's true.
Kate Lang's adventures or misadventures or however you want to describe.
Well,
Uh,
that's a good question.
anyway, thanks again, Pam, for your help with this. And folks, you'll be able to see um, her website address on the bottom of the screen, and certainly the Kate Lang thriller series. All 5 parts will be completely out in 2026, but you can buy books 1 through 4 right now. Thanks, Pam,
Thank you,
and
Bruce. Yeah, thank you
we'll
so much.
you're welcome, and we'll be in touch soon. I know Zoom is going to cut me off
Yeah.
any moment, so I
Okay.
better run, and I will be in touch soon. Thanks
Okay. I'll
again.
talk to you later. Thank you. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye
Yes.
bye.
Bye bye.